Selling your car is one of those things that you will eventually have to do if you haven't already. So why don't you make the most of it when you do actually go to sell your car? I'm going to walk you through 6 ways you can add value to your car before selling it. Let's get right into it. Number 1, thorough cleaning. This may seem extremely obvious, but having a clean car, both in your ad and also when someone comes to look at the car, can be a game changer. Just think about it for a second. You're looking to buy a car. You have the choice between 2 cars, the exact same spec, but the only difference is one is filthy and the other one is detailed and clean on arrival. What is going to go through your head? First thing that comes to my mind is, if this is how the car is now, can you imagine what it was like when it wasn't being shown to people? What kind of life has this car had? It starts to bring into question the entire ad, first of all, but also the entire service history of the car, how well that car was maintained, and ultimately the seller's motivation for selling. In my view, if I was a really motivated seller, I'd do everything to make sure that car was as presentable as possible and not just look completely a mess like this one. It also comes down to respect. Does this person respect your time? You may have just traveled an hour and the car's in bits. You know, it all comes down to that, and it's something you have to factor in. Now, what can you do about this? First, if you have the space and a power washer, I'd recommend you wash the car using a simple 2-stage bucket method and give the interior a good going over before you take any photos. You can find multiple videos online. If you're unsure about this, there's multiple detailing YouTubers, and I'm sure there's some detailers in your area that are already putting their own content out on this stuff. So there's absolutely no shortage of how to do all this. That said, if you do not have the facilities to do it yourself, take it to a local detailer or one of those local car washes that are pretty independent. You can just pay for, 10 minutes of water and get it done yourself. There are multiple detailers out there that will offer a kind of a sales package where they'll take your car in, get it showroom ready, and then you'll be able to sell it that way, and it's usually for a relatively affordable price, so definitely consider that. Number 2, minor repairs. Once you have the car cleaned inside and out, sometimes that can reveal some areas in need of a little care. Some common ones that are usually a quick fix and easy fix are the likes of the floor mats. The wheels might need a little bit of refurbishing, some light paint chips on the bonnet, or even the car just needing a light polish to take some of the scratches out. All of these things are extremely small. However, once you cover them off, it will literally make your car 10 times more valuable than the next one the person sees. In my experience, when you're selling a car, the person coming to buy the car, they're always looking for something to bring you down on, and they'll point to the wheels, they'll point to the few stone chips on the bonnet. If you have these areas tidied up, that can massively increase the actual value you can demand for your car. Number 3, service history. Another way of adding value to your car is having a full service history, or at least a partial service history, and one that's recent. Coupled with that, I'd also have an up-to-date MOT or NCT for those in the UK or Ireland, and not have one listed that's going to go out at the end of the month, because that usually raises suspicions that you're selling a car that there may be a fault and it wouldn't pass the next NCT or MOT. These things can initially be a hassle to get done, but once you do get them done, they add massive value, and it just gives that reassurance to the buyer that the car has been looked over recently, either by a government official or by a mechanic being serviced, and it'll just give them that extra push to contact you and reach out to buy the car. I'd also recommend that you gather every receipt for either parts or work you did to the car and include it in the owner's manual. It's one of the things that the buyers always check when they are reviewing a car or prospecting a car to buy. It also lets them know that you've taken care of the car, and it's in black and white in front of them in the form of a receipt from a reputable garage, a detailer, or whatever it may be. And this, don't like play this lightly. This can be anything from the wheels being refurbished, the receipt for that. It can also be the actual service itself. It can be new wipers, all that sort of stuff. In my view, the more receipts the better, so get finding those receipts. Number 4, good quality photos. I cannot stress the importance of this enough. Take some time out of your weekend, your weekday, whatever, after work. Go to a nice location, preferably on a day where the weather isn't terrible and the car is actually clean, and take some quality photos of your car. We all have class phones nowadays. There's no excuse really. Even the worst Android, the worst iPhone can take probably 4K images. So you really have no excuse. Most apps allow you to upload 10 photos or so of your car. So that will allow you to get each corner of the car, a couple of photos of the interior, and then some photos of the service history or manual or whatever you want to kind of add in there. Getting great photos is definitely one of the most important things, as humans were visually drawn to everything. So that whole thing of visuals helping to tell a more compelling story than written word is very true. Even look at this YouTube video. There would have had to been a thumbnail that was actually attractive for you to even click on it. It's the exact same process for cars, and you'll see it yourself when you're scrolling through Facebook Marketplace, Auto Trader, Done Deal, whatever app you're using. You'll click on the ones that have the nice photos and the crisp titles, and that goes for everything. So please take some time taking some great photos. Do not over edit them, because you do not want to be catfishing someone when they're coming to look at a red Ferrari and they get there and it's a washed out, sun faded pink. You've now just wasted both of your times and now you're back to the drawing board. Number 5, good quality ad. Next to the photos, a good quality ad is probably the most important part of this process, because you can have the clean car, you can have the full service history, the maintenance and all of that, but if the person looking at the ad can't see any of the effort you've put in, it'll all be for nothing. So take some time and write down all the key information points about your car. Some examples are the year, the make, the miles, when the tax and MOT is due and expires, some of the most recent service work done on the vehicle, and a brief description on why you are selling it. That doesn't have to be anything in depth, it can be as simple as you've upgraded your car or you just need the money. It makes such a massive difference to those buying cars and also to you actually answering the DMs, because if you haven't detailed anything about the car, you're going to be bombarded with messages with people asking absolute nonsense. I've seen it myself. To be fair, I've made the mistake myself as well. So it's definitely one to get right. The ad actually also acts as a great qualifying method for potential buyers. If they've seen the photos, they've read your brief description and kind of all the things you've done to the car, and they're still reaching out to you to talk, they're essentially a qualified buyer at that point, and they're definitely interested in the car. It's definitely a far cry from someone who just goes on every single ad and asks for 5,000 off the price. It's definitely a completely different person. Number 6, removing mods. Next, this is probably a little bit controversial, but I'm open to being challenged in the comments, and this is to remove mods that you may have done to the car that others may not like. Some people don't want the car with coilovers cranked down to the ground, they don't want a front sun strip blocking their entire view, and they certainly don't want a massive shopping trolley wing on the back of the car that could potentially be theirs. We all do love our mods, and we do the mods for ourselves, but now that you're selling the car and moving on, you may want to consider the audience you're selling to and potentially restoring the car back to its factory settings, as it were, with its original wheels and its original trim and all that sort of stuff. Plus, think about it, if you have expensive mods on the car such as wheels, coilovers, intakes, all this sort of stuff, it might be better value for you to take those items off the car, restore the car to factory, and then sell those items separately while selling the car. Now, another way people do it is they factor that into the price of the car. One thing I hate with a lot of retailers, what they do is if they upload a photo of the car with nice wheels, they'll say plus €800 for those wheels, which really irritates me, but it's something you can do if you're not bothered selling them separately. With all that said, I hope you found some value in this video, and if you would like to see more content like this, just hit the subscribe button. And if you are currently struggling to make a decision, I recommend checking out my other video on how to make a decision. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.